Hi friends, it's Michelle Maddox here in Sedona, Arizona. And I wanted to come out on this beautiful day. I just felt the spirits calling me to come out and take a short hike. It's a beautiful day, late summer. It's not too busy, especially today is a Tuesday, so there's not too many people around. And it's just a gorgeous day. And some days it's almost like I can hear the little nature spirits calling me, Michelle, come out, come out. So I came out on a hike and I brought my recording stuff so I could talk with you. And when I'm out hiking, I kind of opened my awareness up and I noticed the calling to follow this path, go this way. And I tend to keep going and going and going, climbing and climbing and climbing. And pretty soon I'm up pretty high and it's noonday sun. And so I found this beautiful spot and the butterflies were flying around, and that helped me know that this is in fact the right spot. And I wanted to take some time to talk about something that comes up, not a lot, but every once in a while in my work with ancestral healing. In addition to being a meditation teacher and coach and experience leader, I also am a practitioner of ancestral medicine. And ancestral medicine or ancestral healing is different for a lot of people. There's a lot of different ways that can look. The way that I was trained, which was through the work of Dr. Daniel Four at ancestralmedicine.org, is to take it very systematically. So we have these different lineages of our blood ancestors. We work with one lineage at a time to connect after what's maybe been many generations of no connection with the dead, with the ancestors on the lineage. And then there's a process of connecting with a guide and working with that guide and bringing healing to the parts of the lineage that need it, so that the blessings and the love can flow through the lineage. And the thing about our ancestors is they're not these, discombobulated spirits that are just floating around us. I suppose that's one way you could think about that. Like you have an infestation of ancestors, and people sometimes say, I want to get rid of them. I want to cut all the cords and be free of their influence. And, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. Our ancestors are spirits. They're living in the spirit world. They're human, but they're not presently in human form. And you can't just cut yourself off from them because they're in your tissues. They're in your DNA. They're in your blood, your bones, and beyond that, they're in the parts of DNA that scientists don't always look at. The stories, the emotions, the traumas, these things that get passed down from generation to generation that you and me and all of us inherit from our ancestors, whether we want to or not. It's very similar to your own life path. If you think about how your life has gone, I don't know what your story is, but maybe you had some trauma early in life. Maybe one of or both of your parents were killed when you were very young. And so you had that loss. And somebody else raised you and you felt that loss of the parents. It's part of your story. It's become part of who you are. And yes, you can heal from the wounds that caused. You can go in and feel the emotion that maybe you never took time to feel. There's healing that can be done, but you cannot remove that fact from your story. It's part of who you are. How you relate to it, how you respond to it, how it triggers or doesn't trigger you, those are things that you can work on. But the story is part of you. And other things happen throughout our life. Maybe there was some abuse, some sexual abuse, or maybe you didn't get to finish college because you had an injury or the money ran out, or you had to move away from your family and friends and your hometown to pursue something else. So many stories, so many traumas, and all of that stays with us. It's part of your story, part of your experience, and if you're somebody who likes to do healing work, there's so many great modalities to help you really get into and feel the feelings that got buried alive from these traumatic experiences, to mourn and grieve, and to maybe envision and allow space to let something more joyous come and take the place of the hard, heavy emotions that many of us pack around until we realize that we can heal these things. But it never removes it from our story. Not really, especially not the early childhood stuff, the situations we were born into. That's kind of part of what we're here for, is to heal some of that stuff. With ancestral healing, it's the same thing. It's just, we look at it a little differently. So some of the big things that happened to you in your story, like maybe you lost a parent when you were young, or maybe you experienced some sexual abuse, and so on, it may be that these are things that your ancestors also suffered. Maybe there's an intergenerational story about sexual abuse, or about losing a parent, or about having to be uprooted and leave your homeland, and so on. It could be that these things that you're experiencing in your life, as you know, the big arc of your life, is really just the current version of an arc that's been passing through your ancestor stories for many generations. And so when we do ancestral healing, we're not trying to cut ourselves off from that stuff. That's not possible. But in part, it's about connecting with the love and the wisdom that is in your lineage. And I know some people out there say, nope, my people are all bad. There's no good there at all. Well, I'm sorry if that's the experience that you've had. Many people have had difficult experiences like that. But our ancestors have been around since we humans have been walking on the earth, and perhaps beyond that. That is many thousands of years, many generations, and surely in all of the lineage, there's at least one being in your ancestral lineage who's wise and loving and has healed from this trauma. So we want to connect with those ones and ask those ones to help heal the lineage. And there's something about this being alive, being embodied, and making the connection back to the spirit, back to the ancestors. There's something very special about that connection. And if you're feeling that you maybe could benefit from some ancestral healing, it could be that that's the ancestors, that's the spirit world calling to you. Just like the spirit's calling me to come out and hike today. Maybe they're calling you to look at your ancestral lineages and use what you know, what you learn, what you are able to do to help bring healing, yes, for yourself, because you are feeling and living these stories in your life, and maybe you see them playing out in your children's lives too, and you want to make things as good as they can be for your family, for yourself, but also to help the dead, the ones we call ancestors that are in spirit form. You know, when you take a lifetime of traumas and disappointments and all of the stuff that all of us experience, where does it go when we die? Does it just poof, disappear, and we're happy little angels flying around? Not really like that. You know, these big things that we carry with us, if we don't heal them, if we don't give them some airing out and some opportunity to move away from us instead of holding them all in like we tend to do when we've been traumatized. You know, we stuff it under the carpet a place we call denial, and we just pretend that it's not there. But it is there. It's like some part of yourself has been cut off from your conscious awareness and is there screaming for attention and screaming to be freed of this burden. And you're just la la la, happily going about your denial business. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, friends. Please don't hear me wrong. But it is a very easy, common, and compelling thing to do when faced with staring down scary trauma from your past, or putting on the blinders and pretending everything's okay and letting it go into denial. But that stuff, unless we heal it, it doesn't go away. And, when we pass from living to spirit, when we die, that stuff stays with us in some way. But it's not so easy to heal it without the body. And so what happens a lot of times is, the spirits, our ancestors, look back at the living, and they're going to look back at their blood ancestors because we share the same blood, we share the same DNA. It's like this nice little template just waiting for them, and they can kind of get in there and influence you. Maybe you never wanted to do drugs, and all of a sudden you're hearing, wouldn't it be nice to try this drug? And maybe someone up lineage was a drug addict and died in the throes of addiction. And so they're wanting, this is what we call the hungry ghosts. They want to be fed, and they're going to look to be fed from the easiest places, and that's often us, the living on the lineage. And so suddenly you're thinking about these things. And this is just one way that your ancestors can get in and bother you. But the bigger way that I'm talking about, where we inherit this storyline of, losing a parent young in life, or sexual trauma, or you name it, those things can be a little trickier because we feel them in our body and our emotions. And we may not be able to point to a story that we experienced in life to say, this is why I feel this way. We just have it and we don't know why. And when you start looking at the ancestors and trying to understand what's going on there, then the awareness dawns that, oh, it didn't happen to me. It happened to my ancestors. And it was such a big thing. They couldn't heal it in their lives. And so it's getting passed down generation by generation by generation to slowly heal it. Not to cleanse yourself of it and divorce yourself from all that. You can't do that. But to look at it, to look at what's in you, find the support of your loving ancestors, and together heal some of these things. All right, I'm going to move into the shade. So sorry I'm in the shade now. I know that makes the picture of me look a little darker, but it's quite hot out here. So there's no easy way out, my friends. You can't just cut the ties of your ancestors and call it good. If there's something that is troubling you, that you're feeling influenced or caught up in some ancestral story, or maybe you feel like you're, haunted. I hate that word, but that the ghosts of your ancestors are lingering and bothering you. Ancestral healing is a great way to begin to address some of those issues. Learning how to set boundaries with the spirit world, learning how to connect with the wise ones on your lineage, and how to meet and work with spirit guides, especially here ancestral spirit guides, and how to really partner with them to bring the healing that your lineage needs. It's beautiful work. And instead of, thinking that you can just divorce yourself, move on the other side of the country or whatever and call it good, you actually face it and you work with it. And you bring healing not just for yourself. And by healing, not just making better whatever is bothering you, but so much more. Really connecting with the spirit of your people. Maybe it's different than how you knew them. Maybe different from your mom and your dad and your grandparents and your great-grandparents. You may be connecting with ancestors from hundreds or thousands of years ago, ones who really know your heart, ones who really get you. And that connection and that awareness of being part of a bigger story than just your nuclear family that you knew growing up with, but a much, much bigger story that you are a part of, and how you help to carry the burdens that have been shouldered and passed down through many generations of ancestors. And not just the burdens, but the blessings also. There's lots of hidden blessings there. Our ancestors are amazing and wise in so many ways. Sometimes it's as seemingly simple as they worked magic in the kitchen. They really knew how to cook. And sometimes, it's big. Like they communicate with mountains and help hold the energy of the landscape together so that everyone can be safe. Many, many, many examples. But this work is getting in touch with and really honoring who your people were and are, and who you are in context of your people. So you don't have to feel like you're infested with bad ancestors, but that you are surrounded with loving and supportive and wise ancestors. And make that energy the energy of the lineage for the dead, for yourself, and for everybody down lineage from it. It truly is amazing work. So if that's something that speaks to you, I do ancestral healing sessions. I have a very introductory, kind of a light version that I've meshed with my meditation business here in Sedona. I take people out for meditation experiences, and I created one that's called Ancestral Healing Meditation Experience, where I talk a little bit about what ancestral healing is, and I guide you through a meditation practice to greet and send blessings to your ancestors, and to work with any forgiveness or just to listen for any messages. I call it a light version because it is, it's a group setting, and it happens in a 90-minute session. And then if you want to do a more in-depth ancestral healing series of sessions, this isn't something you do in one session. There's different lineages. We talk about 4 primary blood lineages. Those are your mother's people and all the women, the mother's line. And then your mother's father's people, so all the grandfathers down the lineage on your mother's father's side. And then same thing on your father's side, your father's people, all of those grandfathers, and your father's mother's people, and all of those grandmothers. And we start off with an assessment to really look at each of the lineages and to see how they're doing. And by the way, I'm not doing this work for you. You're doing the work. My job, the magic that I bring, is I hold space for you. And I have a process that I gently guide you through to help you better get into your intuitive self. That's a big part of what ancestral healing is about, is working with your intuition. So if you are somebody who wants to deepen that, this is a great way to do it. And I guide you into a nice dropped-in state, like a meditative state. And then I have you kind of look at each lineage, and I ask questions to assess the health of each of the lineages. And that not only tells us any red flags to be aware of, but it also helps us to put boundaries in place where they're needed. And then after that session, you usually have a good idea of which lineage you want to begin the ancestral healing with. And that process is usually between, I would say, 4 to 5 sessions. Everyone's different. Some people get right with it and boom, boom, boom. And some people like to go very slow. So we let the ancestors dictate the speed that the whole process takes. But we bring healing to your lineage, and in the process, you get to know who your people are and feel the energy of that lineage as it is a part of you, as it is a part of your emotions and your physical body, and your ability to do different things and your hopes and fears and so on. It's really amazing work, and it works through Zoom. So you can be anywhere. We can work together on Zoom. And I also do this work in person. So if you're here in Sedona and you want to meet up and do it in person, I do it that way as well. And if you want to talk with me about it, I have a discovery Zoom call that's 15 to 20 minutes long where we can meet and talk a little bit about your situation, and you can ask me any questions, and we just see if we're a good fit. So the information is here at the URL that you see. It's on my innerexperiences.com website. All right, my friends, it's been nice chatting with you. I hope you have a beautiful day, and listen to what the spirits have to say to you. Are they calling you to go and sit outside for a few moments and soak in all of the beautiful energy? Or calling you just to take a few moments of peace and meditation for yourself? Listen to that.